Just clearing it up, guys.
Yeah, we'd like to dispel that myth once and for all that there is no relationship more than friends here. So
this is the end result of this podcast is that Ryan is lost, directionless, and lonely.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of Show X, How to Rip podcast. We're still waiting, still working on what we're going to call this. Guys, we want your help too. What do you think we should call it? What do you want to hear us talk about? This is basically Kale and I recording conversations that we have all the time because we think that you'd be interested in hearing it too, because we think these are pretty good topics, pretty interesting, things that we spend a lot of time investing our time in to work out how we can learn and what we can be better in.
And be better surfers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we talked about board selection last time, talked about
Gold Coast,
Yeah.
talked about Bells, the WSL contests happening. We talked about wave pools too.
Yeah.
And the boards we're currently riding.
Yeah.
Today we thought we'd talk about surfing in general and sort of prep and bring it back to you guys, give you guys some tangible sort of take-homes. In regards to prep and training and in between surfing stuff, which always seems to fascinate people.
Yeah. So basically we'll start with a bit of a background. Many years ago, 10-ish years ago at least, a long time ago, when we were heavily involved in competing with surfing, we did a fair bit of that. And back then, it probably wasn't taken anywhere near as seriously as it is now. So I think surfers are inherently lazy. They love to surf.
Quote of the day.
They love to surf, but not much else.
Yeah.
But times have changed a lot. So back then, 10 years ago, a lot of people were, they'd surf and they would coast along on natural talent rather than hard work. And hard work comes now to the extra 1%ers like nutrition, fitness, and things like that. And even the mental game as well. Those things weren't really a big focus point back then.
Even though this is only 10 years ago too, so it's been a massive shift. I remember seeing, sort of maybe recognising the shift that was happening, especially through the vehicle of Mick Fanning and the Mick Fanning story. After he did his hamstring, it was obviously a big aha moment for him, a pivotal turning point in terms of learning how to prep the body as much as working with his natural talent. Mick obviously being an infamous party animal back when he was younger and going through all these different things. And then eventually going through the Czech program, which is what I went through to become a trainer, to rehabilitate and get his hamstring and his body back into a good enough position to go on and win 3 world titles. Yeah. So I think that for me was the moment I went, people are starting to take this a little bit seriously now.
For sure.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, if you look now, it's pretty easy to find footage of the best surfers in the world, boys and girls, training in a variety of ways. And they work. It
seems like
hard.
Everyone's doing it now.
Yeah. They definitely put a lot of time and energy. I mean, like in our last video, Kale mentioned that John travels with a trainer. I mean, that kind of enforces how important that is and how much he values that if he's willing to travel with a trainer. So what we're getting at is the importance of spending time improving your fitness and your health and your nutrition, because in doing that, it will help your ability to surf better. It's really that simple.
I was invited to the Whistler surf contest in Manly, and a good friend of mine was the resident chiropractor at that contest, and he went on to do Bells as well. And he was sort of saying how most of the surfers now, before they go and compete, will go and get an adjustment. And just, get their nervous system firing properly, and they value it. And a lot of them are consistent chiropractor visitors, and that for me is an indication, not that chiro alone is going to be enough to just, get your body ready. That for me is an indication of how serious people are taking this, and how what were previously alternative methods of prepping the body and getting the body ready have become mainstream. And, back when we were surfing, I remember going surfing with you when you were when I was maybe 16, you were 17, and you were a long blonde-haired girl at that point. And I remember after the surf, you went and had a deep fried Mars bar.
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, back then too, I certainly didn't value any of that. I don't think I stretched, I didn't do weights or any conditioning, no strength, no nothing. And yeah, deep fried Mars bars on the menu. And also a big part of back those days was the partying culture. And I also think it's still relevant. I think everyone kind of goes through their own little phase where they investigate and explore what that is,
which is important.
Yeah,
for growing up, but I suppose a lot of people don't reach a point where they actually do grow up, or they reach a lot later. I mean, you went through a flaming Sambuca stage, I believe.
I did, and I was actually nurtured through that stage with you.
The stories we could tell.
That's right. But needless to say, we both ended up in the bathroom together. And,
whoa!
Yeah, well, we won't go too far.
Don't tell that story.
We ended up seeing that Sambuca again. So it was actually, we came in earlier in the night and then we witnessed it come back out.
Yeah.
Didn't feel as good going back out.
Yeah, not that sort of bathroom story, guys, don't worry.
No.
So speaking of general homoerotica sort of stuff, what have you been up to lately?
Well, I mean, yeah.
People love talking about our potential homosexual relationship during How to Rip 1.
That's right. And I mean, look,
I didn't realise we came across that way.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
I kind of did though, but like early days, everyone used to assume that we were a couple. Might have been because of our dancing skills.
Which is still very
apt.
They are.
Yeah.
They're still there. If not better than they used to be. They just don't come out as often.
Yeah, this is true. At your wedding last time. To a girl. Just clearing it up, guys.
Yeah, we'd like to dispel that myth once and for all that there is no relationship more than friends here. So, yeah. Okay. No, the rumours can end.
Oh, funny. No, okay. Let's get back on track. What are you doing at the moment? Because you sort of went a different route and got more into gym and movement than I did. Because for me, and probably like a lot of people, surfing has always been my main outlet of creativity, of energy and expression. Whereas for you obviously went through years of being much more focused on gym and that sort of stuff. So what are you doing now? Where are you at now?
Well, now, I
mean, you're a bit fat, but like you're in relatively good shape.
Yeah, well, that's true. Not having deep fried Mars bars, that's a start. But no, like pretty much one thing I found really interesting was how spending time in the gym translated to surfing. There's a few things that translate really well and some things that haven't translated at all. So at one point, like I'm about 76 kilos now. At one point I got to about 83. I was on the infamous basmati swole diet where I used to carry around.
I've seen photos. I'm going to put a photo on screen right now of you with that. Your face was like a little punch.
Yeah, I did get a little bit chub.
It was a basmati party.
That's right. So I just wanted to try and in an attempt to get stronger, eat more food, maybe put some weight on, which certainly was achieved. But during that time, so the strength gains were there, no doubt, got stronger, was doing a lot of powerlifting at that time and like power-focused training, much like, it was actually like an NRL style program. So you can imagine like a rugby player in the States or here, I don't even know if they call it rugby over there, football. But
AFL.
Yeah, that style of training. Did that translate well? No. Like getting heavier and bulkier.
You see that a lot.
Yeah.
You see like professional athletes from, AFL down here, try and transition to surfing and they're just, for want of a better word, they're hopeless in the water. They've got no paddle strength, which is obviously most important.
Yeah.
and they just can't coordinate. Their balance on the field does not translate to balance on the water because you're on a moving surface.
Exactly.
It's so specific. That's what we're trying to say is, I guess, surfing is so specific. But obviously, regardless of the things that didn't cross over, what did you find did cross over?
So I found where I am now, I'm 76 kilos, so a lot lighter than that Basmati swole time. And what translates really well now is just body weight movements. So mastering body weight movements, and also actually Olympic lifting translates really well, believe it or not.
Really? You find that does?
I find it does, for sure.
What Olympic lifts specifically?
Specifically, I will say the hang power snatch or a power snatch. If you're not sure about that, we're actually going to do a video on that soon. So
more gym videos.
That's right. Because it's equally important. You need to value that stuff. Because it won't only just help you surfing, but it's also going to help. It's also going to help your life. So who wouldn't want to be healthier? Who wouldn't want to feel better?
You sound like a CrossFit spewborg right now.
I haven't heard one person say the word CrossFit. We're talking about functional fitness.
Okay.
And there's certainly some. CrossFit's really cool, and there's some things that you can take across for sure.
I don't know. I find CrossFit is and this sort of training. It needs to come. I feel like all of it needs to come with the disclaimer that you need a really good trainer to get into it. Yeah. You need to be physically prepared to get into it, and it is highly inappropriate for the majority of the population to just start doing it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. So
because people don't think that, they're like, "Oh, Ryan does hang power snatches.
Yeah,
I'll go and do a hang power snatch."
Yeah,
like they're just not ready.
No. And that's right. That's what Kale. I mean, you said it. You need to have a good coach who's going to recognise an individual for who they are and where they're at, and then give them appropriate exercises for their level to progress. There isn't, you can't just have one workout that everyone's going to do, which some gyms will have, and the trainers don't know what other exercises they can substitute.
And they don't know what's going on in that person's life outside the gym. Like they might be doing their workout in the gym and then going sitting for 12 hours a day, which will tighten their hip flexors, which will weaken their core, and then result in a completely unsupported spine. And then they're going and pulling these crazy snatches, and they wonder why they blow out a lower disc, a lumbar disc. And I've seen that. You and I have talked about friends or people that we've known who we've seen in the gym smashing themselves and working through that sharp pain as opposed to like muscle fatigue. Yeah. And just because, they're like, oh, this is great, everyone does this. It's crazy. No. So basically we're saying the disclaimer, and I know I'm hijacking your weights training here, but I want to say it, that it needs to be appropriate for the individual.
Definitely. And I certainly wouldn't recommend that. Well, and that's the thing. Like, we can show you these exercises and explain why they're good. But really, some of them, you need the technical ones, particularly Olympic lifting, is really important that you probably get someone in real life, like a personal trainer, to talk you through. And because, it's hard for us to say if it's appropriate for you and we don't know anything about you. Yeah. We don't know what your previous experience is with gym and lifting and injuries. So all those things come into it. We do offer online coaching.
This is true. So heaps of takers on that one. Busy schedule, so you're going to have to email our assistant to book into that one.
That's right. It's very much in its infancy, but it does exist. So if you do...
Well, the online course actually that we did has some good weight training stuff in there and body weight training.
It does. But in regards to like online personal training... If you want to know what's good for you and you want like a personalized program for you with appropriate exercises, but not just that, it's like, okay, well, how many of that exercise do I do? How long do I rest? What weights do I lift? How many days a week should I do it? All those things are very much specific to an individual. So we need to be able to discuss with an individual those things to work out what's good for you. But anyway, online coaching allows us to do that. So if that's what you want and you're interested, you can email us at howtorip@gmail.com, and then we can go from there in developing something for you.
Cool.
But there's no doubt that, fitness and health is important. We talk about nutrition. Kale is a guru when it comes to nutrition. That's his field.
I'm a guru. I've been very lucky in my job as a journalist and filmmaker, producer, whatever you want to call it, to have access to some of the best experts in the world. And as a result of diffusion, I've been able to soak up a lot of really relevant and helpful information from them that I've been able to translate into a comprehensive message for the everyday person. And I sort of, as a vocation, filled that gap between the experts and the everyday person. So it's been interesting, and I think nutrition obviously has received a lot more attention now, specifically amongst the surfing world, and everyone seems to be on top of it. Kale, for instance, was into this really early. I think it's a testament to his longevity in the sport. I mean, doing what he's doing at 46 or 44 or whatever he is,
sure.
is just insane. And you would never see that in other sports that are so physically demanding, to have someone there at that age in the top 10 or top 5 and still being relevant today is incredible. So I think that's a testament to his nutrition. I know he's experimenting with veganism now and doing all that sort of thing. But I think the main thing to take away from that is he's a constant learner and he's constantly open to new ideas. You and I would probably fall into more of a Mediterranean style / paleo approach to nutrition, which I think across the board is a smart way to look at things. We need to consider the body as an ongoing working system of systems. And in order for that system of systems to thrive, it needs a certain amount and balance of raw materials, and you can get that from a high degree of plant foods with a little bit of animal food on the side as well. My next film, the longevity film, is sort of analysing this stuff. And when I was in Okinawa, Japan, which is one of the blue zones, we looked at some of these individuals who are 100 years old, 102 years old, 97 years old, and they're moving like someone 20 years younger. One of the ladies that we had look after me for a day essentially was hopping up and down cross-legged like this, or sitting with her knees folded underneath her and hopping up and down like, hey, what do you want? Can I get you some green tea? I'll make you a seaweed salad, sort of thing. And, she's 93 or 94, not taking any medication. And that's really what this is about. She could still be surfing if she was still a surfer.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to for me, is surfing my best, but also surfing for the rest of my life. And if surfing my best now means compromising and sacrificing 10 years of surfing down the line, I won't do it. I don't think that sacrifice exists. I think that looking after yourself now and optimizing your performance now through good nutrition and movement practices will result in only, I think, an extended longevity in your surfing career. And that's, I think, what we're all after. I mean, I want to be surfing up until the day I die. I want to be in my 90s and surfing. And obviously with aging research going the way it's going, it's going to be possible. So I think that's what a lot of you guys are going to be after. And obviously those short-term improvements come from having a well-functioning system. And I've trained with some really, really good people, people who train other professional surfers and professional athletes. And I think the general consensus is that movement and nutrition go together in terms of providing the foundations for an optimally functioning physiological system, which then translates to surfing your best out in the water. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had granola.
What sort of granola? What's in it?
So it's homemade. It's got cashews.
You made it, or like it's homemade?
No, my wife made it. Very lucky, very lucky.
What a winner! What a keeper!
I know, she is. So yeah, it's got cashews, almonds, pepitas, chia seeds, cacao powder, like raw cacao powder, so a little bit of chocolate flavour, and then just a tiny bit of honey, and then it's roasted all together, mixed around all together. Oh, with coconut oil as well. So that's kind of my breakfast.
I did the nutrition for surfers video as well. We should sort of point that out.
Yeah.
That's been this was quite early on, and it's still quite small, but we'll remember to link it below and maybe put a little clip here. But basically in that, and looking at that breakfast versus mine today was more of a paleo style breakfast, and I'll mix it up. So today I had avocado and beetroot mash with some poached eggs and some pickled vegetables.
Yeah.
And that sort of breakfast, your sort of lower carb breakfast, is quite good for that long sustained energy. Because today I knew we weren't going to be going crazy in the surf. But this is the thing, you have to analyse your physical activity and demands and your goals. In terms of, if you're trying to lose weight, then probably limiting carbohydrates is a good idea. If you're trying to maintain weight, then having a moderate amount of carbohydrates is probably a good idea. Unless you are doing really high volumes of training, intense training, it's pretty rare that you actually need a high degree of carbohydrates. Mostly it's only professional athletes who need that. So this is what it comes down to, is if you're just surfing once or twice a week, the majority of the time you should probably be eating a relatively moderate carbohydrate diet. When I talk about carbohydrates, I'm saying more sweeter carbohydrates. So we know that plants and green leafy vegetables are carbohydrates predominantly. And they are something you can really have a lot of without worrying about blood sugar management and metabolic disarray. So if you are someone who's surfing once or twice a week, then you might thrive on something like my breakfast, where it's more, your protein based and you're sort of balancing your blood sugar. But you and I both do some experimenting with fasting as well. I actually find that I surf a lot better on an empty stomach.
Yeah?
What about you?
Okay. I find I surf better if I've had, like you said, like that paleo style of breakfast. So I feel like if I've had something like that, probably, and then giving a bit of time for that to digest. So if I've had that an hour or two before the surf, that's when I feel best. In saying that, I recently was starving, and I was surfing in the afternoon, so I ended up having a big carby meal. I had quite a big serve of rice with, I can't remember, made leftover dinner, some meat, and it was a lot. And I went and surfed about an hour later, and I felt horrible. I felt slow, I felt bloated, I felt tired. And so that was a really a standout moment for me, where I was like, never again am I going to have a heavy carb meal pre-exercise. Because I wouldn't do that for gym, so I don't really know why I did it for surfing.
That's the thing. I mean, in surfing, I feel like the overarching optimal feeling that you would be going for is to be light and powerful. Yeah. It's not like you're doing powerlifting where, having a meal in you might ground you a little bit. Whereas in surfing, I just find that if I'm light and feeling balanced and strong, if I'm doing some fasting, I might have some bone broth in the morning, or I'll do a medicinal mushroom latte or a matcha latte just to balance off the blood sugar a little bit. But overall, the tummy is quite empty and I'm feeling light and powerful. But it's different here, because here you have to travel a long way to go surfing. Yeah. This is here as in South Australia, which is where I'm from. And obviously, you guys know I live in Sydney now. Whereas in Sydney, I can just drive 5 minutes down the road and be surfing. So it's kind of different here in that I may consider having breakfast here because it might take an hour for me to get in the water anyway. Whereas there, if I have breakfast at home, potentially 10 minutes later, I'm surfing. It's not a great feeling. And, then you run into all those ideas about human growth hormone and longevity and all these different things. I find that surfing on an empty stomach, being in the ocean, being exposed to the cold really tends to enhance the benefits of that. And then again, eating within half an hour after the surf, I find really works well for blood sugar balance and doing well. I love walking up to the boathouse after surfing, my favourite beach up there, and getting a beautiful, nourishing breakfast from the boathouse. So it's got to be personalised, but it also has to be common sense. So I used to tell people, follow your inner nutritionist, but people would come back and say, yeah, it was great, my inner nutritionist told me to have Skittles for breakfast the other day. So it just didn't work, So I think it's got to be smart, and all my work, including the gut movie, including this next film, the longevity film, I think is pointing towards a balanced, sustainable approach. And food, as much as this irks me to say, it may not be as important as we think it is in terms of determining how long we live and how healthy we are. May not be.
Interesting.
I know, I'm going through some really big changes at the moment in terms of what I think about the health and wellbeing industry and what I think about health and wellbeing in general.
I mean, can you delve deeper into these thoughts, or is that...
I think the best way to sum it up right now, without having gone through the entire experience, I'm about halfway through, is how you eat and who you eat with is just as important as what you eat.
Very interesting.
Mm.
Wow, I'm excited to hear more about this. Kale's been very cagey about this, even outside of this video. He's not giving much away. So.
No, I can't because I'm going through such big changes. I don't know where to start. I've had maybe 3 or 4 podcast interview requests after being in Okinawa. And I was just like, guys, I can't talk about this yet. Like, I don't know what to say. Because I'm just in this emotional turmoil about my life. You know, it's being thrown into perspective. Like, hey, maybe you're going about this all wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, it's good though to have an open mind. I'm very proud of myself in terms of having an open mind, an open enough mind to question what I'm doing and be humbled by being incorrect at times.
Wow. I must admit, I'm quite concerned at this prospect of Kale changing the way that he thinks because, like...
I've done this to you before.
Well, yeah. Post those deep fried Mars bar days, Kale actually came to the rescue and was like, hey, Ryan, you know, maybe you should drink more water. Maybe you should drink less soft drink.
And Ryan took that as drink 6 litres a day.
Not quite, but I do go to the toilet a lot now. But, yeah, so I'm nervous that he's going to... It has happened already that he's drummed something into me like, oh, Ryan, you know, dairy's not that great for you. Don't have dairy. And then currently, it's not uncommon for Kale to eat dairy products. So that's confusing. I'm confused and lost and a bit directionless.
There you go. This is the end result of this podcast is that Ryan is lost, directionless, and lonely.
No, but anyway, I'm interested to hear. That's for sure. You've definitely got to... I think the other thing that's really important for people to understand is that what works for one person won't work for the other, and there is no one sort of set rule. You sort of have to try different things and, you know, like try intermittent fasting. I think that does probably have equal benefits for a lot of people, but then there's other factors at play, like intermittent fasting for young women, you know, around that kind of the baby... Thinking about baby age isn't great because it can affect their hormones negatively, and there's lots of things to consider. So you should definitely do your research.
That's with everything. That's not just with diet. That's with life in general. Sure. Like if we're giving you surfing advice, I would consider it unintelligent for you to take that advice verbatim and just apply it without thinking about it, considering it, playing around with it. Obviously, we're in a position to be able to give it that advice because we have surfed for so long and we're coming to the table with a lot of information. We surf relatively well, but again, you have to be able to think critically. I think that's been lost in today's environment where people are obsessed with putting other surfers, for instance, this is what this is about, on a pedestal and being like, what you do, I'm going to do because you're so good. It doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. You have to be able to think critically and assess things based off your own situation and apply it intelligently.
Yeah.
Is that a good point to end on today?
I think so. That's very deep.
We've gone deep and philosophical, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
But we would like to encourage you of any age, of man or woman, that you would consider making smarter choices, making healthier choices with your eating and being more active and looking at doing some sort of fitness, whatever that is, incorporating that into your life because that will help your surfing improve, which is why you watch us, because you want to surf better, but also to help your outside life, help your mood, longevity. But there's
a variety. There's a variety of benefits to doing that. I think we've had a little audio mishap there, so we're going to have to jump to that audio, but that's fine. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'd love for you guys to leave a comment below and let us know, number one, what should we call this show? Number two, I want to know what we should talk about. You know, what sort of things should we talk about on the show? Because Ryan is currently directionless, lost, and lonely. So we're going to need some advice from you. Remember to join us on Instagram as well, at Kale's Broccoli, at Rye Surfs. Encourage Ryan to partake in Instagram once in a while. And we'll see you soon.
Catch you soon.